So you got a kayak and you want to go places and you also want to find fish. We're looking at two options today to see if they're up to snuff, if they're up to the hype, if they're totally worth it or not in this video. We've got the Minn Kota Terrova. This is the kayak edition. It's 36-inch shaft, 55-pound thrust motor. Arguably the best bow mount. I've never used one though, so I'm really excited to use it and compare it to what I have been using for about 3 years now, which is the Motor Guide XI3. See if it's better or not. Then we have a new fish finder. We've used tons of Garmin on the channel. What we haven't used is Humminbird. Their new model that came out last year is the XPlore series. We have the XPlore 10 here, and we're gonna take a look at some of those features, and I'm gonna be comparing and contrasting to what I know, which would be the Garmin Echo Maps, the Ultra HDs, and then I've also used the 93SV. We're gonna take a look at the features. I'm gonna use all of it. Also, I've got the motor paired up to the graph. I've never done that before. This technology has been around for a long time. In fact, Garmin has it, and we have the Garmin Force Current motor, but I haven't tested it on that yet too. We'll have to do that in a future video. For this one though, obviously we're just looking at this series. So this is what I would call the Johnson Outdoors Premium Starter Kit, because you got the Humminbird, Minn Kota, Old Town, all under one umbrella, brand being Johnson Outdoors. So in this video, I'm gonna walk you through these real quick, show you some of the features. Then obviously we gotta go hit the water. I wanna test these features, see if they hold up, and I want to catch some fish. I'm Jeff with the Aggressively Average Anglers, and that's what we do here on the channel. Whether it's for you or not, we're gonna pick up every single item that exists in the fishing industry, and we're gonna test it out, and then we're gonna share our authentic opinions with you. Buy it or don't, at the end of the day, you probably want to know how things work. So let's get to it. So starting out, obviously, we have the Old Town ePDL Pro platform, or the PDL Pro platform. They use the same exact hull technology. Now on the ePDL, you're gonna actually put a mini 36-volt battery in there, and then you have a pedal drive. It's on the ground right there that has a screen on it because it doubles as a motor. It's an e-assist pedal drive. You can pedal manually, you can have e-assist making pedaling easier and you going faster, or you can use the motor function, which on cruise setting 5, which is the highest speed it goes, is around 3.5 to 3.8 miles an hour. So it is a slow troll, but it is still a motor nonetheless. So that sort of serves the purpose of a rear motor. You're not gonna add one of those to this because we have the offset bolt pattern here. So we just ignore that. Never tried it, not really interested in doing it. I feel like this kayak really lends itself better to just having a bow mount with spot lock and then having the e-pedal assist be like an additional bonus on top of that. We've already done several videos on the PDL Pro and the ePDL. I will link all of them in the description below if you want the full walkthrough on the kayak itself. Today's video needs to focus on these two items and how they pair up with this. Humminbird XPlore, check this out. I do like the navigation on Humminbird so far. I've only dinked around with it for a few minutes. So they do have this feature called One Boat Network. And if we tap that, you get to this page here where you can scan a QR code. I've already done that. It's pretty clean. It has fairly low reviews on the App Store at 2.8 stars out of 5. I'm sure that's due to some update error that has occurred over the past. I didn't have any issues with it today, but that's just during setup. I haven't used it on the water, so we'll see how it performs on the water, and maybe I change my mind entirely. So far, okay though, for me. Seems like it has a lot of features I need to explore, and we will do all of that when we're fishing. You can also go to your motor setup. This motor pairs with this via the Ethernet cable. There's an Ethernet cable right there, and then it comes out in this conveniently located pass-through that Old Town put in. It goes up through the middle of the heavy coil so it doesn't get tangled up, and then it goes in right here. Heavy duty is one thing that I would definitely apply to Minn Kota, Humminbird, Old Town. To me, they're all super heavy duty. If you want something that seems like it's gonna hold up, that feels durable, that has that good heavy duty feel, these have that. That's good and bad because all of these cables are pretty thick gauge. They are insane. So when I have 3 of them that have to plug into the back of this XPlore 10, that's obviously easier on a boat than it is on a kayak because all 3 of those have to go through the same pass-through, and you can see there's kind of a gap there. So that's just something you can expect to happen. It does fit. I made it happen. It can work. I might even consider replacing the Old Town pass-throughs with like a Yak Attack XL pass-through just to have a better way to get through that, or something else. I don't know, but so far, okay. I made it work. It was tough. It's not ideal, but it can work. And then I just did a little cable sleeve, really just a rod sock that I repurposed. But that works, keeps it clean, looks good, in my opinion. Back to the screen here, phone setup was pretty easy. The instructions on the app don't make any sense, so just ignore them. Basically what you gotta do is you go to phone setup, you go to connect phone, you go to your Bluetooth settings on your phone, and it's already wirelessly looking for it. But then your phone is gonna be like, type in this number or make sure this number matches. The number does not appear on the screen. That was weird. That was my stalling out point. But if you just click connect anyways, it connects automatically. Just a quick heads up. From here, motor setup, also kind of finicky. It's weird. Basically, you hold this pair button, and then while holding that pair button, you open your settings on your phone, you go to Bluetooth, and then you can find the motor there. It shows up as Terrova. And then that'll beep 3 times, boop, boop, boop. It's showing that you have paired up. Now that we're paired though, we can go check out the other functions. You can see that I've already paired the motor. So you can play with the motor right from your screen here. And you can also do that on your phone. To me, that is such a cool feature that I've never taken advantage of on other motors. I don't believe you can do that with the Motor Guide XI3. This is supposed to be for a foot pedal, I believe. There's really nothing else. So unless I'm missing something, please feel free to call me out in the comments if you've done that before with this. I have a wireless foot pedal that I use with this that works really well. And then you can do a wired foot pedal as well, but I've never done the wireless connection to my graph, because I don't think it does. That said, the Garmin Force Current does have that option. So again, stay tuned, future video, we'll play with it. You do have side imaging on this. I would hope for $2,000, that is like the MSRP of this thing. Down image, 2D, chart, instrument settings, which you can go to default view here, and this is gonna show engine information that I don't need because I'm on a plastic boat that doesn't go very fast. But there you go, so that's that. GPS functionality, you can see our motor here, all of that. So I love the connectivity. I love the one boat network. Again, right now in terms of concept, obviously I haven't tested it out, so let's get to the water and do that. Other than that, I've already mentioned the Humminbird is extremely heavy duty. It's about the same dimensions as the 106 SV from Garmin, the UHD2 version. Feels just as heavy duty, but here's the big caveat I have for Humminbird. These are perfect for boats where you're just gonna put this amazing silicone cover over it, and that's great. It's gonna be protected and all that. On a kayak, you don't wanna drive with something big and heavy like this attached, even if you're using a heavy duty base. This is the Yak Gadget base. It is extremely heavy duty, kind of like a Yak Attack Zero Play base. And then this is a 1.5-inch Ram ball attachment with the medium size arm there. It's not gonna move that much, so that's gonna hold up. But again, you don't wanna drive with this attached. Not a good idea. And that's where Garmin does this. And you can see it just connects to this cradle, which then also has a silicone cover for the headers. So you can just block that off, keep them protected from dust, debris, and all that. And then you just put this big, heavy beast monster into your car. Cradles are good and bad. Can it fall off the cradle? Yes, mine has fallen off the cradle before, so that's a negative that goes with that. But the benefit is, to me, outweighs that negative because it has only fallen off one time ever. But the benefit is that I can take the screen off. With this, for this to come off, I have to unscrew these 3 things, remove it from the Ram ball mount, put that in my car, then I have to put it back and screw it back in every time. Is that crazy inconvenient? No, but is it some level of inconvenience? Absolutely. Just something you need to be aware of before stepping into something like this. Also, Humminbird loves their buttons. They just can't get rid of these things. So this is not a full touchscreen, whereas on Garmin, I have like 6 buttons right here on the side, very slim and trim. This one has a dozen or so, and this is where your micro USB goes for data storage. They do have 2 slots for, which is cool. And then we got the Terrova heavy duty. You do have to, for kayaks, get a quick release plate. I'll link this one. That one's on Amazon for 40 bucks. So the Minn Kota branded version of this is 89 or something like that. It's gone up a little bit over the years. This is virtually the same. We have both. You got that, you install it, and now you have a quick release on this, which is cool. I have a 1/4 bolt here. I drilled just over, like kind of bored out a 1/4-inch hole, screw that in, tie the paracord around it. It goes up and over this pedal, and then it comes down here to a trolling motor handle. Nice and heavy duty. Got a carabiner there if you need to disconnect it, whatever. But this works really well for this. So you're gonna pull this, and then you're also gonna be holding this red cord in your hand. So it's a 2-handed operation. But when you pull that, the motor's gonna release, and Minn Kotas do a great job. Unlike my XI3, this thing wants to fly off because they've ramped the drop side. So the motor is going to start dropping immediately. You're gonna hold on to this and ease it into the water. This is also how you're gonna pull it up out of the water when you retract it. So pretty clean operation. It has to be 2 cords. These are both from the NuCanoe motor deploy cord that they sell. It's like 50 bucks. It's kind of an all-in-one piece. It has a pulley. I've been using that on my Motor Guide XI3 for a long time. It works good on most boats. That did not work on this Old Town. And I think it's because of the Minn Kota pedal. This pedal has so much more movement than this simple boop. Like that doesn't go very far. This thing goes all the way down. So there's a lot of movement to go through. So see how that does that? It just wants to go. Like immediately launches. I love that feature, but also hate it when I'm in a garage. But it's gonna be great on the water. You can't use the NuCanoe pulley for this. It does not work. You have to separate the 2 pieces. So I had to make this its own component. Just a heads up in case you thought you could do that, you can't. There are other ways around it, but this is what I've chosen. This is to me the simplest solution. So we're doing that for today. Quick point of comparison, direct kind of 1-to-1, what you get with the Minn Kota Terrova versus the XI3. Look at the motor case itself here and the prop that you get with it and all of that. You get the little tri-prop. This is the eliminator. I got that extra that just keeps weeds out of the gears in there, which is important because you'll have to clear this thing out pretty constantly. Miniature skeg, pretty heavy duty metal casing. Go over here to the Minn Kota. Look at this skeg in comparison. That's freaking insane. This is the prop that's included with it though. This is a prop that is made to shred. They even added this little curvature to your prop, which should support better efficiency and speed. I'm taking this prop all day, every day over this little mini guy. Even the pedal itself feels more heavy duty than this one does. Anybody who has owned both would know. Just overall the features, it's feature rich for like $250 more than this was. Quick price point on all of these. Remember, buy it or don't. I'm just showing you what exists on the market today. $35.99 for the PDL Pro, $59.99, I know, for the ePDL Pro. That's because you're paying for that drive. That drive's about $2,000, $2,500 bucks, something like that. You're looking at $2,099, so $2,100 for the XPlore 10. The XPlore 9, by the way, is on sale right now. I was seeing it at a few different stores, like $1,400. I know there's gonna be more features on this, but that 9 is probably gonna be plenty for 99% of people. And then the Terrova is $15.99, usually not on sale. But this with Spot Lock, the GPS version of the XI3, used to be $13.98. So it's relatively close. And right now, the only other option we have for kayak motors is the Power Pole Move at $5 grand. So thank you. We'll go with this probably. All right, that's enough of this garage nonsense. Let's go hit the water and let's test these things out. Couple cool things on the XPlore unit. You got all sorts of different things you can look at. You can check your GPS settings. So here's all those GPS satellites that we're reading off of. You can show that we have a fix. It gives you all this other information that most of us probably don't care about at all, but it's good to know. You got sun and moon patterns, rise and set. Once you have GPS set up, it'll auto update your date, your time, daylight remaining, all this stuff. This is super cool, and most of the units I've used in the past, if they have this information, it's buried somewhere. This is so easy to get to, so that's a big win. You can record stuff, so we can, if you have the SD card, so there's a 128 gig SD card that comes with this. That's for loading maps and stuff. The vast majority of it's already taken up, but there's a second card slot, so you can add another one if you want to, and then you can record and play that stuff back later on if you want to recheck like certain points and spots. Media will be like all your stuff that you've had in there. If you're on a boat, you can do fuel settings. We are not on a boat, we're on a kayak, so I'm not doing that. You set alarms and all of that. So all of that's pretty cool. Then you have quick favorites. There's actually 3 memory buttons right here. So I can hit that. That goes to chart. Number 2, these are presets. 2 goes to 2D down scan. And then 3 is going to their standard mega down scan. If we go back home, you can see side imaging as well. And then you've got different options. You can see those favorites too. So if I go to favorites, you can add all of these however you want. So we're gonna use this one for a bit today. I've got my 2D and my standard mega down scan and side scan. So 4 boxes in one. Lots of information. But this tells us everything that we wanna see. So I finally figured some stuff out. This is obviously gonna just take me some time. But what I just did is I hit this. I went to go to a saved route. So it's taking me to this waypoint right here. And then you just hit check and then it takes you there. So that's pretty cool. I think, you know, once I get this dialed in, you can plot routes out and all that stuff. I could also say like, hey, let's say we want to fish this bank, right? I can pull up fairly close. I can draw a course between 2 waypoints, and then I can hit cruise and or autopilot. I got to play around with this again. This is my first time using this unit, so I'm just kind of figuring it out as I go. I wanted to see how intuitive it was if you unbox this thing and I mean, I read the instructions, but there's so many instructions. There's so many things to learn. There's a lot of great videos online. Like, I'll try and link a few in the description below if I can. Just people have been using these units for much longer and they know a lot more obviously about this. I think that's always going to be helpful for folks, of course. So yeah, I mean, in general, I think that it's fairly intuitive. I think, you know, this little side panel that you can pull out for your motor is really cool. I think the concept of going point to point and all you got to do is run one network cable from here, boop, to the motor makes it pretty easy to then just navigate yourself across the lake. I like that feature. Again, it just gonna take some getting used to. This is day one unboxed, literally using this for the first time. What I can say though is it's keeping me well on course here. You can see our line, and then it's got this little nav beacon that it's shooting out, and it's trying to aim for that waypoint right there. I think it does a good job with that. You can also see we got a ton of fish down deep. There's some arches and some movement way down there. That's cool. We got bluegill popping all over the place right now. See our side scan, see our down scan. Also see that there's kind of a little flasher that goes along the side. I like that too. I think that's a neat feature as well, showing you separation from the bottom and fish and kind of cover and all of that right there. And I can just cancel right here. I can switch, you know, things that I'm doing on my Terrova. I can also change the speed at which we get to this spot. Now we're at a 10. So it has 10 speed settings and it goes up in halves. So you got 20 different settings you can do on the remote, which is cool. So you're going to dial in your speed. And when I was talking earlier, it was like, hey, let's say that I wanted to hit this spot. One thing I could do is I could just tap cruise. And then what it's going to do is it's going to actually slow me down a lot first. And then it should put me back on course at a lower speed. So right now it's going to put me back on course. It stopped me first. Now it should pull me. Here we go. Okay, so it takes a couple seconds to get caught up, but it's still gonna try to keep me on this route where I'm going this direction on my lake. And let's say you wanted to troll, I could go up to like a 2.5, 3 on here. I can go trolling across the lake. If you're fishing a bank, then that just like, you set your speed, you set your pace. It's gonna slowly take you from point A to point B and allow you to fish the whole way through. So I think that's a really cool feature too. We'll keep messing around with this. I know there's a lot more features that we can take advantage of. What I'm gonna do right now is I'm actually gonna practice using just the down, we'll do the down and side. I'm gonna do both. So we're gonna actually create a new favorite. And for that new favorite, we're gonna do a new view. We're gonna go panel 1 here. I'm showing you how easy it is to set this up. I think it's pretty easy. You got your down, and then you go to panel 2, you got your side. So that's gonna be like all the fish finding information I could possibly want. I do not have Mega Live on this. I don't really plan on getting it anytime soon, but we can test that in the future if you guys are interested. For the most part, for us, we usually only use down and side scan. We don't really run forward facing sonar ever. You could add a third view here too, go with your chart, 2D down scan, or even some like data, right? But I'm just gonna hit save. And then I'm gonna go to this. Now it's 6 in my favorites. Boom, check it out. We got stuff going on. You can also unpin this side panel if you don't wanna see the motor information. So that'll pop off in a second. There it is. And now you got full screen on this. So all in all, pretty intuitive, pretty easy to use. Also, one cool feature that I also think is a pro con, like at the same time, you have manual buttons on the side. Why this is beneficial is you can actually turn off the touch feature on the touch screen. If you guys have ever used a touch screen fish finder in the rain, you'll realize the problem here, right? When it's raining, this thing just kind of freaks out, but you can turn that off on a Humminbird and you have all these buttons on the side. Garmin, Lowrance, they also have buttons, but they tend to go super minimalistic, like 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever, like just half the buttons that this has. This has a lot more. And again, I really do like these programmable favorite buttons on the bottom. All right, let's test out a little side imaging. There's a huge underwater tree right here that we're gonna roll right over. There it is. All right, little slight delay, obviously, we're going over it. It's gotta shoot down that sonar, but that's not bad. That's pretty clear. And then you can see even more of the structure right there. It's cool having these side by side. If you guys have never done this, like this just gives you an idea. So I know this is on my right side, shows you how far from the boat it is. I can adjust that, by the way, too. So we can do this. There it is, look at that clarity. So now I can see it's about 8 feet from the boat that way. That's what I'm casting at. And then over here, you can see more of that structure. You can see that's probably a fish right there. Not bad. You can even choose just left or right side. So let's see what that looks like if I just do right side. Okay, so now it's like a mega zoom. Yeah, so if you're doing what I'm doing, you're just running a bank, and I'm not really interested in what's out there right now. I'm looking for what's up here for structure. Then I just go with that right side. And you can just switch back and forth, left, right, both. It's pretty quick. Pretty easy. We're gonna go directly into the wind. You can see my motor readout here. We are not at top speed. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit the rabbit, boop, and then we're gonna go as fast as we can that way. We'll check our mile per hour readout here, and then I'm gonna come back with the wind and see how that goes. Best two things I can do today with how freaking windy it is. All right, ready? Here we go. That's about as straightforward as we can go. And we're looking at 3.5 miles an hour. That's pretty good. Now we're going directly into the wind, so let's turn this around. And now we're gonna head back that way and watch it. Full speed with the wind, about 3.7 on the high, 3.8. So if we take the average, we're probably getting a little over cresting that 3.5 mile an hour mark when you're on just flat water, no wind, dealing with that. With the wind, I'm getting a little bit of a boost, but not by much. But there you go. So that's the speed test, not bad. Very comparable to your Motor Guide XI3. This is also kind of a barge of a kayak anyways. Hull shape though does lend itself to a good average speed on the Old Town PDL Pros. All right, so check this out. We hit spot lock. It's gonna put us on our spot. Very gingerly doing so. But see how it's turned around? Now watch this. If I turn off spot lock and I wait a second, that's where I was originally, like the motor head was originally facing. So that's pretty cool. That is, I actually really like that feature. I am back in the slop. We're gonna test the Terrova's capability of getting me out of this. Can hear it, just chopping them up. A little bit of a bog down there, but it like hardly loses a single beat. Let's check it and clear it. Dude, there's nothing even in the prop. Look at it. Look at that. It's wrapped around the shaft of it, but that's it. That handled a lot better than the XI3 did through the same situation. Last thing I wanted to look at on the Minn Kota, here's a little remote. Pretty dang simple, feels very robust. I think most people will be very happy with this, especially coming from an XI3. I think that this is pretty clean. And then I wanted to show this, instead of just going up and down with your plus and minus all the way until forever, what you can do is you take this rabbit and you just double tap it. Oop, there it is. Double tap it one time. If you double tap it, it turns off. And that takes you immediately to the top speed. And that is a cool feature. Another thing that I really like about this, there's actually a power button up there and a battery test, but the battery test is gonna be whatever. Battery compatibility goes into that. But with the power, that means I can turn this off and not drain battery, like it's not on idle all day long. So when you plug in your battery, it doesn't automatically turn on, try to find GPS signal, like all that stuff. So I think that's pretty cool. That's something the XI3 does not do. The XI3 goes right into it. As soon as you plug in, it's on. So I can plug it in at the ramp and just leave it. I can leave it on overnight if I want to, if I'm just like sitting parked at a ramp or whatever. So that's a neat feature as well. I like that. Set my drag. Got him. Easy peasy. Fluke squeezy. There we go. Oh, yep. There we go. Got him. Boat flip on the Patriot, baby. Probably one of the bigger fish of the day, though. That is a wrap on the Old Town Humminbird Minn Kota combo, and here are my closing thoughts on this whole setup. We've already done reviews to death on the Old Town PDL and ePDL Pros, so I'm not going to talk too much about that here, but I will link the videos to it below so you guys can see that. Sorry, the sun is baking me. I'm gonna cover up. For today, I really wanted to focus just on that Minn Kota Humminbird pairing, and I think that these two pair very well. Now, to be clear, you absolutely do not need a Humminbird to run the Minn Kota, and vice versa. They just go together really well. So with that said, you can't network this, Ethernet this, to your Garmin or anything like that, unless there's an adapter I don't know about, which for sure, I am unaware of this. I don't have all of the knowledge in the world, so if you guys are aware of a way to connect those two, just let me know. You can hit us up in the comments below. That said, I do definitely plan on using the Minn Kota Terrova as our go-to bow mount. We'll probably pick up another one and just have Paul using one and me using one because in my opinion, it is way better than the XI3, both in build and performance. So this is a very high quality product. I'm excited to be using it for the future. Overall, spot lock engaged quickly and effectively. It doesn't really get tangled up as much with the cords. Like you can see, I have my pull cords here for that. It doesn't get tangled up with those like my XI3 does, so that's cool. Overall build, it's overbuilt, which you want with these things, otherwise they break really easily. I like the power option that you have on there, and overall it was really accurate with everything we were doing. The Ethernet connectivity of this was also pretty cool because we were able to go here to our chart, and after I did the update, the GPS was way more accurate, but you can also see the trail that we went on today. So we're tracking what we're doing. I'm marking these waypoints. We can pick those waypoints. We can drive to them. I think that all of that is really cool, this connectivity between the two on that one boat network system from Johnson Outdoors. You can also control this on your phone, and you have the pop-out menu here that you can pin out and be able to control your motor from that. I think that the clarity on Humminbird is pretty solid. Definitely on par with most of the Garmin's I've used, but when you get into the like Ultra HD, the Echo Maps, I feel like those have the edge on this just by a bit. My personal opinion, I bet it's like negligible, the difference, and maybe I'm just biased to Garmin because I really do like the Garmin units. But I've been trying to give this thing as much benefit of the doubt as humanly possible, and I think it is a really good unit. There is so much to love about this whole setup here. So I could easily see why you might pick this over a Garmin or a Lowrance or anything like that. Big fan of the display readouts on this. Huge fan of the intuitive nature of this whole thing. It's really easy to find everything, and I do like that they have this feature on here. I called out a few pros and cons throughout the video here today, but one of the biggest ones for me that I called out really just in the beginning when we were rigging this up is that this unit is not meant to detach very easily. I kind of miss, like with my Garmin, it's a cradle unit, so you can pop the Garmin head unit off when you're traveling. The main reason I like that is because when you go to back these boats in, if you're on wheels, if you're on a trailer, as you're driving, there is, even if it's locked down on a base like this, and you're gonna have to be as locked down as possible, there's a lot of movement, and that's gonna flex your track, it's gonna flex the base. Eventually, what can happen is what happened to me with my Garmin unit is that my ram ball mount on the track actually broke and fell out, and that drops a $3,000 unit, which is like the last thing you want to do. So that makes me nervous with this. That's one huge thing I got to call out. Now, if you flush mount this, you're definitely better off. I would recommend that too. If you have a track, a command center, Yak Attack swing arm, something like that, that would be the best way to lock this down, is to be the most secure. It's going to move the least amount. So that might be the way to go. Overall, I'm still a rookie to this setup. I've learned a lot just today out on the water, and hopefully you've learned a lot with me. If you guys have any tips for me, any videos you want to recommend, you won't be able to link them because YouTube blocks that, but you can refer a channel or tag a channel for me. That would be great in the comments below. I'd be happy to check that out and learn a little bit more about Humminbird as we move along. This is just the Explore unit. Humminbird has lots of other options. They definitely have budget-friendly options. We might pick up some of those too. So if you guys have anything else electronics-wise that you want to see us review, just let us know. We appreciate you guys so much for watching this video. Be sure to smash that like, ring that notification bell, and be subscribed to see more content just like this on our channel. We drop 2 videos every week, and we go live every Wednesday at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. I'd love to see you there. We have some really fun chats, just talking fishing and gear and stuff. Other than that, I got to get back home, so I'm going to catch you guys on the next video.